I'm pretty sure I got a phone call from a 203 number, which means it's Connecticut. That's Stamford, Connecticut. And they said, hey, Monday you're going to debut. Your name's David Ziggler. We'll see you. You're going to fly in Sunday. I go, oh no. David Ziggler. I go, why is that the name? He goes, the boss wanted some alliteration with the same first letter in the first name and the same first letter in the second name. I go, my name's Nick Nemeth. I go, we already have it. And he goes, oh, no. I go, we had just gone into the reality era to make things a little bit more real, like Randy Orton, John Cena. And you're like, oh, okay. And that's what I thought. And he goes, no, they need to own the name. I went, okay. So I got to work and I found out that David Ziggler had become David Ziggler and Dolph Ziggler. So I think the boss just fell asleep watching Boogie Nights on the plane. Seriously? And I said, but I found Vince McMahon, and it was basically the first conversation we ever had. And I was like, sir, we're in the reality era. You can Google my name. I wrestled for Kent State. I'm the all-time winningest wrestler there. My name is Nick Nemeth with an N and an N. I feel like we're checking all the boxes here. But his paper says Dolph Ziggler, and he goes, Dolph Ziggler? People remember it? Yeah. Conversation over. And I go, okay. So that's how I got my name. Yes.
Was that usually how conversations went with those?
At first, when you're new, yes, of course, and that's how they should. Well, my whole career. No, at first he's the boss. It's his show. You get one or two pushbacks, and then you go, okay, I said my piece. I tried to modify this or change this scenario or fix the show or the match that I was in that day. And then you get a little pushback, and and eventually you go. If you're going to die on that hill and make it count, it should be something really important. But otherwise, I'm trying to help the show out. And you taught me that this doesn't make sense. We shouldn't do it. And they're like, nope, we're doing it. So after about 7-8 years, I had much more of a conversation with him because I had earned the respect in the ring. I think.
So you've competed in several Royal Rumbles. I've talked to a lot of wrestlers, and a lot of them don't like it.
What do they say that they don't like about it?
You know what's going to happen. There's not a lot of freedom to do it, and it's just kind of like going through the motions, and that's it. There's not a lot of...
You could always, if you're going through the motions, you shouldn't be doing business. But that's fine. I understand that I've been in, 15 Rumbles or something like that, and 10 of them, there was 10 or 12, 15 people that were like, we know they're not winning. They're not filler, but it's just like guys that haven't really been on TV that much. The last 2 years, it's been all stars and studs for WWE. But I always found out that we get a little talking to beforehand, like, okay, everybody don't do the same stuff, and don't just be in a corner or punching and kicking. Try and make it exciting, but also don't. There's sometimes 20 people out there, and they're doing things that have been planned, and you gotta get out of the way sometimes. They said, whatever you do, don't try and be hanging over the outside the whole time. So I did that every chance I got. I did it so much that they started saying, don't do the Dolph thing. And I was like, got a name back for me. And then I went, okay, I won't this time. And then if you're smart, you find the most famous guy that they're gonna shoot the whole time. Oh, it's Roman's over there, Edge is over there, great. Backdrop me out, buddy. I tell them, whoa! It's like, you know the camera's coming, so I'm not winning, so I'm gonna get my camera down. Yeah, make it count.
One thing I always
don't tell me that. Delete that.
One thing I always thought that was interesting was when you had your feud with the Big Collie. You're a normal size human. He is not.
Yes.
So how is that working with someone?
It was at first it's difficult because I was younger and newer, and even though I was put in that position because I could make it a positive match. You have to earn, much like Vince or Big Show, you have to earn the trust of the Great Khali because he can agree to something, but then he can just fall on me and I'm not going anywhere. So you get to a point where you're like, trust me, buddy, I'm in this match with you because I'm really good at my job. If this match is bad, you're not getting yelled at afterwards. So I don't want this to be bad, I want it to be good. So I found a couple ways to try and show him, and at first he didn't really totally get it, and then eventually one time he throws a big boot, and while I'm getting beat up by him, I have to be very careful, because if I bump into his boot a little bit, he'll fall over and there's hard to get back up. So I was very careful about it, and then one night his big chop hurt really bad. So the next night I ran right into that foot and he fell down. I go, we're even. He goes, okay, and then we were buddies.
Is that a receipt?
Yeah, a very nice receipt. I could have punched him as far as I can, but we wouldn't even have known.
So last thing about WWE I want to talk about is your run with Vicky Guerrero. I think that's some of the best stuff that you guys did. How fun was that working with you?
It was a blast, and the best part is, so many people are, if they're a bad guy TV, a bad girl, you're super nice behind the scenes, and not with her. She's so interesting. She was like the biggest sweetheart there was, and she was the most booed out of the building person. That it was like it came down to, it was like a Texas Raw, and we were supposed to have a 4-minute promo segment with John Cena, and then a 6-minute match, and then that was it. She was being drowned out by the entire crowd for the entire 4 minutes that she never got any words out, and the ones that she did, I was next to her and couldn't hear her. And she has a microphone. So they call an audible on the fly, they make that 4-minute promo segment becomes a 10-minute promo segment just so we could get to everything. And then the next segment, they go, I think it might have been John's call, he goes, we're not doing a 5-minute match, we're doing a 15-minute match. Go. So because the crowd was so great, it was all because they hated Vicky, the nicest person in the world. So, and I'll get to a point, a negative point about that, but like, we get to it, we have the craziest, funnest matches when the crowd's hot or booing or cheering. It's the greatest adrenaline you could ever get for anything. And I didn't have too much credibility. I was usually getting beat up and Cena's always winning, blah, blah, blah. We knew the winner, but we made it such a good match because of John helping us add some time and do some other things that everybody wasn't sure who was going to win. And it made it so the crowds can change people's futures, WrestleMania main events, and a night. It was awesome. I had a blast. But then we get to the back, I've been on the other side of the coin before. They're like, well, Undertaker talked 28 minutes too long. Your match and your match are cut. And you're like, okay, I've been there. It happens. Undertaker's going to WrestleMania. I'm going to Access to sign autographs. So yeah, of course that takes priority. But I've been there. But we came back and they scrapped 2 matches from the show because we went 15 minutes long. But I go, sorry guys. I go, but it's the Cena segment. It was important. So you find out where your priorities are. But I've been on the other side of it 7 or 8 times. So it happens to everybody.
So you moved to TNA. Quickly became the world heavyweight champion.
Not quickly, it was like 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, something like that. 3 months in, they made me have a title match, which I said, I will come to TNA if you leave me the hell away from the world title until anybody even starts talking about it. And they're like, okay, you won't be champ. Like, we'll let you do your thing. And like 3 months in, they're like, you and Moose for the world title. I'm like, but he won. So I got to stay away from the world title for about 6-7 months. I really just wanted to see. I talked a bunch of trash in a 20-year vacuum, and I wanted to see if I could go with everybody else outside it, or if I was all talk. And clearly, I was all talk. That was a joke. No, I wanted to see, like, without being like everywhere I went, be like, hey, you're gonna make me champ, because I watched that happen in the past. And I go, I want to see if I can earn it, or at least get the crowd begging for it, and then maybe we get to it. And eventually we got to a happy medium of 6 months later of, hey, you should be in this position, and then the crowd's ready for it. So I just wanted to go out of my way and not go, hey, I was from WWE for 20 years, and you're the champ. Like, that doesn't help anybody.
So I remember when we talked at another show, you were really trying to figure out where you fit in the locker room, because you had been with the one entity for so long. How are you doing with that now?
I've been around for 20 years, so I was an outsider when I came to every locker room this last 13, 14 months. But when I got to TNA, there's some guys that have been there a long time. Josh Alexander, who's like long-time champ. Eric Young, guys that have been there since they went back in the Kurt Angle days, and like they earned it. Like they are the locker room leaders because they are Mr. and Mrs. TNA, all those people. So I didn't know if I'd be an outsider or would people still come ask for advice and different things. And as slowly but surely, it's such a tight-knit group that after we film our shows, for the most part, 90% of the locker room gets together and either has some food or a couple of drinks afterwards. to celebrate that, if we did a good job, and that camaraderie quickly made me not feel like an outsider a couple months in, and then now I'm back to just the same guy I was 20, in WWE. Some people asking for advice, doing different things, and trying to steal the show. So
You mentioned Eric Young. Why do you think he never really ascended to the next level?
Oh man, I don't know. Because in TNA, he had several different versions of Eric Young, and he kicked that. He's awesome, man.
Well, in TNA, but I guess when
Yeah,
he went to the big show.
it depends, because that's when you go to WWE, the old boss. If he sees you as a TNA guy, it's going to be hard to become a WWE guy with him. I didn't see that personally with Eric, but I've seen that in the past, and you go, okay. And it's just, there's certain things where when someone comes in, they're like, okay, you gotta beat the thing that I made up in my head about you. And then most of the time they did, but sometimes it doesn't matter. Also, every roster has 50, 60, 80 guys and gals, and 95% of them are awesome at their job, and we can't go with all 95% of them. So you have to pick and then hope that the timing works out, and that's why I stayed there for so long going, okay, they told me I would never become world champion, but I became world champion. Okay, so maybe if these 5 guys get hurt, then maybe I'll step in, and so many different times someone got hurt, they put me into world title matches, and it just fit, and the crowd was there for it. And it was kind of a break glass in case of a main event world title match guy, and that was great, but it just, for me, it also didn't lead to becoming in that golden circle group, so I could see how that happened with Eric. Price was a TNA guy, but also he's so good. He can do anything, he can play any role, and he loves TNA so much, and we love him there, so I'm happy he's with us.
Great. So you started hosting Busted Open Radio. How did that come about, and how are you enjoying it?
Does anybody listen to Busted Open? Hey, all right, 2 hands. Hell yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you. Busted Open, it's 7 days a week, 3 hours every morning on Sirius XM, and it's usually talking wrestling. They presented it to me. They said, hey, would you be interested in co-hosting a 3-hour show 1 or 2 days a week of talking wrestling? I go, I famously do not watch wrestling, and I sure as hell don't want to discuss it. And he said, no, don't worry, we won't make you watch wrestling, we'll figure it out. I go, I'm going to be hosting a wrestling show? I'm not talking about it. All right, whatever you guys say, we'll try it out. And it's because of several, everyone on that staff is awesome, and they all have different perspectives. Some of us are, we're world champions. Our current world champions are fighting, we're world champion 20 years ago, so we have all these different perspectives. Or just a hardcore fan like David Record was awesome. And eventually we got to a point where they're like, hey, can you please watch this 3-minute clip from Raw? We need to talk about it for 3 hours. I'm like, fine, I'll watch it. And they're like, did you watch it? I'm like, I skipped it. It's fine. So, and usually it's like, the other co-hosts can explain, here's what happened, here's what I like, here's what I didn't like, and I can usually add some, lucky for me, some unique outside perspective of oh, they probably went this way because I've been in that position before, and the boss said to go this way, and they went this way. So it's I can usually apply something that I either learned from WWE 20 years ago psychology-wise, or find little pieces in between the moves and be like, hey, this is why this really stuck out, because you can see these little seeds planted here. And they've come to say that I somehow I'm doing a good job there. But we're on Thursdays, my night, but I bounce around and fill in for guys all the time. So Wednesday, we discuss Dynamite from Wednesday night for the most part, but we'll talk anything that's big that day. And usually we'll turn it into Pogs and Annoyed and Slumber Party Massacre talk, and we'll do almost everything I can in my power to get away from the wrestling part and get to some rock and roll and horror movies. But we do it. We got it down to a 50-50 split there. So.
I was actually watching one of your episodes, and I saw a frame posted blood club in your room, and that's when I asked you about horror films.
Yeah.
And when did your love of horror?
My uncle showed me a beta tape. Does anyone know what that is in this room?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. It was the Toxic Avenger, and it was really, even with the cleaner that you would apply, and fixing the tracking and the other button, whatever it was still really staticky, and it was on beta so bad. But it was the first first boobs I ever saw. But first monster-y horror movie, whatever, and I loved it. And my uncle, who's very much got me into wrestling, I liked Ric Flair in the Four Horsemen as like a 10-year-old, and supposed to like Ultimate Warrior and all that kind of stuff. So, but he was like, these guys are cool. Like, so he introduced me to Black Sabbath, heavy metal, professional wrestling, and monster movies, and he's got like stacks and stacks of all these things. And every week we watch. We're all in different cities, but we're in a group chat. We'll watch Svengoolie, and then we'll talk about it. I'll take the poster and I'll put all our heads on it, whatever's happening. This week it's tonight. Jack Palance as Dracula, different one. But we're into that stuff. So since I was like 8 or 10 years old, got into it, and then I don't have anything on my walls at home. It's like, and I was like, well, I like trauma movies, and so I reached out to Uncle Lloyd and said, can I have your blessing to get some, like 10 of these posters and put them at my house? So I found a couple old ones, and I still would like a big Toxie and his blind book dancing together one, but we'll get to it.
Since you're a big Toxie fan, are you interested in the new film?
I've been hearing about it for 5 years. What's the deal? It's definitely coming out. It's 102% on Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone loves it. Like, oh, never again, they're burying it. And it's like, what's the deal?
Last I heard, it's going to come out.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah,
His power.
I'm for it. Hey, great.
Yeah.
I'm more of I like the low budget, fun ones, but I'm gonna give it a shot. And if it's, I think everyone was saying it was incredible that has seen it. I gotta give it a shot. But I like old school, low budget. I'm just picturing those guys just running through, like not getting any permits and just going. Like, it makes it so much more fun.
Right. So what are your go-tos other than like Jason, Freddy?
Oh, yeah. Evil Dead's, I think all of them. They keep coming out. Texas Chainsaw Massacres. They even did a Netflix one like 1 or 2 years ago, and that was great. And I was like, oh, it's gonna be lame. So they keep making them work. All the major series that come out, I love them and I watch them and see them. But I like to find some. Tubi helps me find some Korean and Japanese stuff that I've never heard of. And it's free. You just gotta watch some commercials. Yeah, they have stuff that other people that you pay for do not have. So I love that.
And the commercials aren't that bad.
It's not. Are you kidding me? I grew up in commercials.
So you actually made a short for this one.
My brother did all the heavy lifting. Like that.
Yeah. One in man. So tell us about that.
I was finally leaving WWE after 20 years, and I've been planning on it for about 2 or 3 years. So we got some pieces together, and I said, when I told my brother, he's writing scripts, auditioning, he's in movies, and he was just in Iron Claw and all these other things. But not just wrestling stuff, he writes stuff, and he's good. I was like, well, how about we put together something that like announces that I'm gonna be a free agent, but we don't make it wrestling at all. It's not like, I'm finally breaking free of these chains, I was being held down, like, that's been done, like, ugh, get out of here. So I wanted to just go like, let's just make a movie that we like, and it's under 5 minutes, but like awesome. And I Ash Evil Dead, I love him, and I was like Kurt Russell-y a little bit.
That's what I got.
Yes, well, it's probably the charm. But I was like, we'll make it like that. And I go, we don't have to address wrestling in any way. Let's just make a 5-minute zombie movie that is like an action hero, and then we'll debut the music that Downstate made for me, and then have it be like, okay, I'm free. This movie came out, so my brother and I showed up at Wrestle Kingdom in New Japan secretly, and we walked out, and we just heard the place just start rumbling, and it was like the coolest moment ever. For 20 years, I never thought I'd like get a chance to get in the ring with Tanahashi, fight anyone around the world, go to AAA, anywhere, and we had it. We did the debut, and my brother goes, "Hey man, this social media's going nuts. Should we do the movie now?" So we dropped the movie and then like the Downstate song, and we put it all together and said, without even saying like, "Hey, we're going to go," like, this is my character now. Wannabe Ash Evil Dead, action hero, and rocking and rolling. And a funny thing about Downstate made all my 2 of the 3 things at WWE, and they do like Matt Cardona's and Cody's, a million great songs. And I go, guys, I want to do something that's like Rat and Steel Panther, and not your normal wheelhouse. And like, what do you think? So I'm like, I love you guys, but like, this is not what you would want, right? And he goes, Rat? He goes, yeah. My parents listen to that. I'll figure it out. I go, how old are you guys? He's like, so we got them to. I gave them some lyrics. I wanted some heavy metal screams in there to make it like a fun Steel Panthery / Rat. There's a Rat song called Wanted Man, which is one of my favorite songs. But I didn't want to steal it from them. Well, you got just a little influence on it. And of course, the zipper at the beginning. That was for me.
Have we ever seen the full length?
Possibly. So my brother has made several different movies in the past that he's taken to shows and shopped around and taken to festivals, and he won some. We did like a 3-minute comedy short that he put all the work into again with that also. So this is something that he, in between writing scripts, just shows that to a couple of people in Hollywood. You know how that goes. Like, you never know what anything's gonna happen, but he's showed it to a few people and they're like, this is great. Let's make a 15-minute version and then shop that around and so we can get a real movie made. So in between both of us having 6 jobs, like we're constantly just trying to add to that and bring something else to life with that, for sure.
I think there's something there.
Yeah.
At the end of it, I wanted more. And
Hell yeah.
I think that's...
Old Hollywood trick, always leave them wanting more, baby.
Yeah. So you work with your brother a lot. You do the comedy shows. How did you get into comedy?
I was a fan as a kid. I remember we didn't have cable, but my grandmother did, and she had Nick at Night. And if you're old enough to remember, they would show the original first 2 or 3 seasons of Saturday Night Live on there. And I didn't understand, like, people were in bee costumes. I was like 6 years old, 8 years old. I didn't totally get it, but I go, people are on stage and people are like laughing. I go, I want to make people laugh. So immediately, like, we borrowed a relative's video camera and we were trying to shoot our own talk show and make it funny and tell jokes or just make things happen. So, and every time we go to the store for my mom, she'd be like, hey, we go grab bread real quick? Sure. Come back, so everything work out okay? Get the bread. Like, we got the bread. I think I hit some kid in the parking lot. Anyway, the bread's fine. And she'd be like, what? And my brother would just go, no, he was in the way. It's his fault. Like, the cop said everything was fine. And like, we just keep going and riff, like, improving and just totally making up a story that we did not plan. And we kept doing that. And then, so he got into improv, so I joined him on a stage for a couple of shows. And then for the last, since I was like 18 through 30, I filled up all these notebooks just like trying to write jokes. I wanted to write a joke. I would watch Conan O'Brien in the old days when he was on 12:30. I'd watch his monologue, and I would pause it when he did the start of the joke, the premise and the setup, and I would try and write my own joke and see if it matched up with his. I just always wanted to write jokes and be on stage and doing things, and also it makes me a better sports entertainer, professional wrestler. The more comfortable you are on stage, the more everybody's gonna bomb. You feel flop sweat coming down your face. It happens. But for the most part, the loyal fans have followed us, and we've practically sold out every show, so it's really cool.
What was your first performance? Were you nervous?
I was scared to death. I went to an open mic in the back of a coffee shop in LA, and it was like 6 people out there just waiting to do their open mic time, and not even listening. And I had 5 minutes that I had timed out, and I got it done in 2.5 minutes because I was so scared. I was just like, I went to Chipotle, and I don't remember the band, but it's like I rambled through it, and I was like, when I got off stage, I go, what a rush! I'm like, I want to fix this, and nobody laughed. Like, it wasn't good. It was like passable for an open mic, but people were on their phones going over their own bits, so they're not even paying attention. So that's a real crowd. I'm very lucky when we do these shows before a TNA pay-per-view, we'll have wrestling fans sitting there, so when we walk out, they're already like, ha ha ha, like, they're too kind, so it's great, we'll put on a good show. But to truly learn if your joke sucks or not, you go to an open mic, there's a Chinese restaurant by my house, I'm Nick in a black hat, and I'm just like, hey, I was on Tinder, and then I saw my mom, or like, whatever. And it's like, you see if it really works, or people were just being nice and having a good time. So those shows rock, and they're a blast, and we have all these cameos of everybody who's in town. But when it comes to actually figuring it out, it's hard work, and you find out right away when people don't know who you are that joke does not work, and I need to rewrite it. And but you need 5,000 or 10,000 reps to figure out your voice, and I'm at like 60 shows, so just a few thousand more to go.
So have you always been a creative person?
I guess. I keep saying my brother, I'm stealing his catchphrase, but like, he's the creative one. He went to the fancy college to do like writing and being awesome, and he constantly would like bring me ideas and everything. I could add and help and put little pieces in, but for the most part, I love riffing and making fun of our parents and screwing around with everybody and tricking everybody in our house. But he's the one who, like, that Wanted Man thing. He was the writer, director, producer. He gave the camera crew all the instructions. Like, that was his like first time running a show, and it was awesome.
Who was the zombie?
The one that gets his head kicked off is Ryan. Yeah, and if you've been at my table, I have an 8x10 of him choking me right before I kicked his head off.
So one last question for me before we take it to the audience. If one franchise could call you up and say, we want you in this film, what would it be?
What do you guys think? Well, while I buy some time. I'm looking at everyone's shirts. I'm like, yeah, that all works. It's Halloween, Friday the 13th. Like I said, I'm very pro Evil Dead. And they're still making movies.
Yeah.
That would rule. I'm a trauma guy also, so I can't be Sergeant Freaky Man. I can't be Maniac Cop. I'm going Evil Dead, and then we get a cameo with Bruce. Not passing the torch, but I just want to be in a scene.
I have one.
Yes. Please, yeah.
A reboot where Kurt would pass the baton to you for Big Trouble in Little China.
Hell yeah. That's
Jack Burton.
You know what? A lot of people say that I'm on board. That would be awesome.
All right, who has a question here for you?